Thank you for joining us today on Positively Charged Biz. We are here to motivate, inspire, and support our listeners as they write their life stories. We are a proud founding member of the Real Disrupt Podcast Collaborative, and you can check out more awesome podcasts at realdisrupt.com. And for more inspiration, go to Amazon.com and purchase my latest book, Say Yes Every Day, Discovering Your Superpower. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a positive and productive day. On today's show, we have the pleasure of being inspired by one of my Thrive Thursday guests that will also be featured in the Say Yes Every Day Thrive Thursday book later this year. Allow me to introduce you to Carrie McCann. She is an account manager at ProvenIT, where she makes your vision a reality through office technology. Carrie, thank you so much for being with us today. And on the Positively Charged Biz podcast, we like to start at that pivotal moment in your life when you realized you needed something to change.
We only have an hour, right?
I know, right?
For me, it was the year 2018. I've been with Proven. I'm going into 9 years now.
Wow.
But I was recently doing the math, and I'm going into my 18th year of sales. And I'll never forget it. It was 2018. I just had my second child, and I had some postpartum depression, and it was just multiple things. It was, I was going through that feeling of passion had been somewhat lost, like direction, focus, like I had this need for more. And that was really a pivotal point for me because I started diving in and doing some personal investments on myself. And that's when the light started happening for me. And I met several people along the journey. And I think an important part to say is sometimes we feel this need where we have to do it all ourselves and we don't ask for help. And I'm telling you, when you can get past that and start asking for help or looking in different directions, that those resources are out there. We just have to look for them. And I had started with a business coach. I'll give a shout out to Larry Levine from Selling from the Heart. And I did some one-on-one coaching with Larry. And it was at that point I started kind of looking at how I was conducting business and, was I going, it's not that I was going through the motions, and it's not that it was horrible customer service by any means. I felt like I needed more. And he was teaching me some ways on how to expand, from what I was already doing. I just made a post today, over on LinkedIn, and it's taking the time and listening. And I personally didn't realize how blocked I had become and how defeated I had become. And it wasn't until I started opening some of those doors and those avenues and getting some insight or maybe better practices that I was, doing myself. And it was from that coaching that definitely made an impact. Now, fast forward, after doing the coaching and learning some techniques and how to have better results, I realized there was still some noise there. And I realized there was noise in my head as like negative thoughts. And I had actually invested in a life coach at that point who really, really opened my eyes to how much negativity was up there. And it wasn't until I was going through the process that I realized really quick. And Laura, it was like, one day you wake up and when you're blaming everything, right? It's this person's fault and it was that person's fault and it's this project's fault. I realized real quickly it was here. I needed to start here. And I started peeling it back, and kind of like an onion, you take, peel back the layers. And I realized I needed to do a lot of inner work. I had a lot of negative noise. I had doubts. I doubted myself. I had doubted my truth, my voice. I was worried about what other people would think, that need to be seen to impress. I did not realize how much it had controlled me for many, many years. Again, it was like unintentionally when you look at the past and all those years. So I can give any piece of advice out there to those maybe in sales. You got to do the inner work. You have to do the inner work because it's so much more than any, you know, training that's going to teach you like on a one workshop that you go to a year. It's a constant investment in yourself. And it's something that I've started practicing every day, whether it's meditation in the morning to ground myself. Because I'm very energetic. I'm very passionate. And I realized like I gotta knock it down for a minute. So when I'm having those bad days or those negative thoughts that creep up, I need to dive in a little bit deeper. And that really was a very pivotal point for me when I started making those changes.
Wow, there's so much there, Carrie, that we
I
can dive into. Okay, so where do we begin? Actually, I want to start at the beginning because let's take it back. I think all of us, especially, you know, any role that you're in where we all have clients, right? We're all serving someone. We're serving someone. Okay. So we know that at times, maybe sometimes we lose our passion. Maybe sometimes it becomes routine or it becomes a little bit of complacency, right? Not deliberately, maybe just in time, maybe just over the course, right? So where do you start to, okay, where do I go to get help? Because you said it's difficult for us to ask for help. Now, boy, have you hit the nail on the head, because I actually had this conversation today with someone where I said, you have to understand, I'm the person people come to for help. I never go to anyone to ask for help because I'm the other person. And I'm not saying that in a facetious way. I'm saying that in a way of, I have difficulty asking people for help because I'm known as the person that you go to. Yes. So at that moment, when you're feeling something needs to change, how do you know who to go to help with? Because I don't know if we even know where to start with it, right? Yeah. Where do you start?
Especially where we're at right now in today's environment, the power of networking.
True.
The power of conversations. And it honestly was me going through a news feed one day. I had heard Larry speak, and you have to look at the messages that speak to your heart, because when we go through how many coaches are out there, how many, you know, inspirational speakers are out there, how many self-help books are out there, like where do you start? Exactly. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
My advice that I can give is go to what speaks to you, not what you think you should be, not where you think you should go, but go deep inside and what resonates and what feels right and uncomfortable. When we start getting uncomfortable, that's probably the right path, right? It's that discomfort of the comfort zone that we've made ourselves. So if it feels a little uncomfortable and it speaks to your heart and it speaks to just that feeling you have, it's the right path.
I agree with you 100% because it's very interesting. And it's funny how both of us had pivotal moments in 2018 because that was my year too. So it's interesting. Going on in I don't know what was happening in 18, but good things were happening. Yeah. So I do 100% agree with you that you have to follow your heart. Because you're correct. There's lots of noise. You constantly have everything coming at you and you're not really sure. So you do have to connect and resonate. And that tribe, I love to refer it to a tribe. One of the things that I learned in 2018, I was accepted into a tribe. And that was the first time in my whole career that I felt accepted and loved within an organization. And it changed everything for me. So I agree with you. Whatever tribe that is, whatever group of people, out there that you can feel yourself, they love you for who you are, whether it's good or bad or right or wrong, you just feel at home and you feel confident in your own skin, right? You can just share your voice and they're there for you. So finding that tribe, I agree. And then the being a little uncomfortable. Yeah, that's my whole thing, is that you're correct. Most of us, we kind of go through life, trying to just, do just, as little as possible out of that comfort zone. But that's not where the magic happens. The magic happens when you get outside of it. And yes, we know it's scary. We know it's uncomfortable, like you said. But that goes back to that tribe again, because when you have that support, you know that even when it gets uncomfortable, they're kind of there, whether it's your family, your friends, your tribe, your group, your colleagues. You know that they're going, it's okay. It's all right, Carrie. Yeah, I know you're feeling a little uncomfortable. We've got you. Don't worry. When you have that feeling, you can reach all new levels. So that is fabulous. Okay, so we know where to start. I love that. Asking for help. We've got that. Okay, let's go into this doubting voice and this negative chatter that helps. So that continually speaks to us. How do you recommend people deal with that?
So, and I'll give a shout out to my life coach, Amy Kemp. And it was a series of one-to-one conversations. I had started in a group session and realized I'm more of a one-to-one. So, and again, you got to find what's comfortable for you, because if you're not going to open up in a group session, then go to a one-to-one format, right? So by having those conversations, and the first part is to just be aware, because if you can stop and close your eyes for just a minute and think about your day, think about maybe like, oh, I was getting the kids out the door and then this happened and then it was a trickle effect and then that happened and then we had a problem with billing over here. All of those thoughts, right? And it's almost like you manifest it.
Yeah.
It's like when you have a negative day, it just multiplies and multiplies. So I think the first task is just to be aware. And the thing is, when you start to be aware of those thoughts, that's when you can start making the change. That's when you can start making the shift, because it's not like the day has to trickle that way. The day changes at that point. So I'm aware something's going on here. I need to stop for a moment. I need to think this through. If I can't figure it out myself, then I need to stop whatever project I'm working on for a minute and push that to a side, because I'm not going to be good for anyone at that point. I'm not going to be good for my clients. I'm not going to be good for my family. And I'm sure it's not going to be good for myself at that point. So I think it's literally just being aware is the first place you can start with those negative thoughts. And at first it's a little mentally defeating, because you're like, wow, how much noise is up there, and then you start thinking about it like, wow, I was thinking about, you unconsciously do it. So if you can just be aware, it's a changing point from there.
Right. Okay. Love it. Now, you also mentioned something else. You mentioned that you're an energetic person and a passionate person, and I am the same. But I find that sometimes people get the impression when they meet people like us that we never have a down day, or we're always happy and everything always works out for us. And it's just roses and rainbows every minute. That, of course, is not accurate. We all go through those cycles and difficulties, and life happens. Life happens
Absolutely.
to all of us. So what do you do with that in terms of, like I said, it almost seems like people equate energy to, oh, well, everything is always wonderful in their life, but that's not the situation. So how do you deal with that in terms of, it's great for us to always be uplifting for others, but our energy that we kind of give to others, it works both ways, right? It has to be, we have to feed ourselves in terms of keeping our energy up also. So what are some tips for us, for especially the people out there that are high energy, that give it away? How do you continue to get the positive energy back?
It all starts here. It's with ourselves, right? And I think with the transparency, so to kind of circle back to that, Laura, I think it's also good to show when you have the bad days, and it's okay. And I think people respect that. And I think that's part of my story is I don't try to run or hide from it, right? Some things have happened, and bad days happen. Just I think Brene Brown says, like, face down in the arena moments, like, and it's how we recover.
Of
Because
course.
when I look back at the 18 years of sales, I can think of many moments. And I think I've shared with you this story about, when I first started at Proven and they made me take that sales aptitude test. Oh, I mean, who knew that how much that was going to interfere in my mind? Because when I took this sales aptitude test, it basically told me that I wouldn't be good at sales, based on this algorithm, because I was a hand holder and I was too nice. I allowed an algorithm to tell me that I wasn't going to be successful. And where I'm at now, looking back, how I could talk to that person at that time, you can't allow a test or anyone, right, to tell you how you feel. And it starts here. And I think, again, if we use transparency, we make it part of our story, people are going to relate to you. When I'm having conversations with my clients right now, I mean, 2021's here, right? 2020 happened. We're still dealing with everything. We're making great improvements, but we're still in some pains. And we don't need to sugarcoat that. We don't need to put a bow on it and say everything's going to be okay. The truth is, we're still in some hard times, and it's going to be hard. But how can we be resources for our clients? How can we be at our best? And I guess, sorry, I think I went in a couple directions there, but we have to be good here in order to give. And it doesn't mean we have to be 100% on our A game every time. But if we show transparency, we speak from the heart, we speak how we feel, your clients are going to see that. They're going to see that you really do care.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, we all know when it comes to any type of relationship, and relationship is not just a personal relationship. I know some of my best relationships right now, I mean, are my clients. We do business together, but these are also people that I deeply care about emotionally for these people. I know their families, I know their stories, I know their struggles. I just had a client just yesterday became a grandma for the first time.
yes.
And when I saw that baby girl, the picture, I mean, I was overjoyed for her and celebrated with my client that became a grandma. I mean, those are moments that, yes, we do business together, but you're also in a relationship, and you can't be in a relationship if you're not transparent, if you're not open and from your heart. And those are the people that, no matter what the market does, ups, downs, in, outs, we all know all that's always going to happen. There's going to be cycles of good times and bad times and ups and downs. But at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And you mentioned listening. I mean, isn't it crazy how people truly do not listen?
Yes. When we treat clients as a quota, as a number, you're going to get those results. You're always going to be chasing that number. You're always going to be chasing the next number that you have to get to. So the advice I would give, stop chasing. When you stop chasing that number and yes, we all know we have to have goals. We have to have a business plan. You make that. But when you can push that aside, take that noise out, that pressure, that stress, you're going to see amazing results start to happen because you're actually listening to your clients. If you're distracted because you're trying to hit a number at the end of the month, that is going to come across in your appointments. It's going to come across in your conversation because you're going to miss some important information that your clients are telling you that you're not even aware of because you're not in the meeting. You have to be in the meeting. You have to be with them. You watch body language. You listen, you ask questions. It's my favorite. Some people look at it as, is it a weakness to ask questions like in their environment? No, it's not. And my clients, I can tell you, they appreciate me asking. I'm like, this is how I learn. I saw this article. I'm not sure if this is, what are your thoughts on this? And then they start opening up. And then that's how I learn. And then I take it to a next appointment, maybe in, education. I love education. Education is dear to my heart. I'll take it to another client and they're like, wait, where did you hear that? I didn't know. And then all of a sudden we have a network. They're like, hey, Carrie, you said you had a client over here. Would you mind passing that information along? I'm connecting people. That's our job when you really look at it. So yes, the advice.
Well, it's relationship, right? It really is. The whole thing is you have to take the business part of it out of it because it's
you
not
first.
Yep. Yes. The minute you do that, it's not, because we know that's a commodity. All of that, a product and service out there is a commodity. The true value of it is the relationship and what you can do together. That's what the value is. Everything else, it's just a commodity. It's the rest doesn't matter, so 100%.
That's so true. Cause that's, when you introduced me, making, for the tagline that I enjoy using is making the vision a reality through office technology. I sell office technology. It is not fun talking about copiers. Let's face it.
There is nothing sexy about it, Carrie.
No. I mean, how fast can they go? And, security cameras and all these things. Like, there's so much information. What our clients need to know is that you care, you're trying to understand, and you're trying to help those pains. They want to they need to trust you, right? And then all the other stuff comes along, and the products and the cost and all, the information. And as soon as you can start treating people like people, you're going to see the results. I promise
100%.
you that.
Totally agree. So what are so you learned about doing your inner work. You learned about how to get that negative thinking, calm down, and how to redirect it, right? So that it doesn't continue on that path. What are a few other lessons that you learned over the last few years once you kind of had this almost awakening, I would say?
With 2018, going through, I wouldn't change my story. I wouldn't change anything. Some of us are sometimes, to share the story is hard, right? Because we feel like we're judged, or what will people think? She had postpartum depression, and now look at all the platforms out there. We can think of many mom groups out there. They're like, you are not alone.
No.
And sometimes all you need is that one story to relate to know that you're not alone. And I hope that this podcast today, us speaking, it can touch with one person, because that is when you feel like you're not alone, even though we know our problems, like we know other people have the problems, we know clients are going through those problems, but it's such a hard, like, it does feel lonely. It does feel like you're isolated. It does feel like you're on an island by yourself. So I just urge you to talk to others, surround yourself with like-minded, and you don't even need to You don't even need to read articles or find a coach for that. You know who your triggers are. And you really got to question, should they be in my circle? And that's where it starts, because if you're surrounding yourself with that negativity, you're going to start giving that negativity out. So I know in some situations, maybe it's not that easy. So find ways to limit yourself in that circle then. How can you pull yourself out of those situations so you can start surrounding in positivity? I think it's really that simple. What we surround ourselves with is what we're going to give out.
Yeah.
So if I'm surrounding in all my triggers, it's going to come out in some way. So
Yes.
that would definitely be one area, is definitely look at your network.
Well, that goes back to that tribe again, right? You have
Yes.
to make sure that, and you're correct. Thankfully, we live in the glorious world of technology where we can network with so many different groups of people and if something doesn't feel right, well, that's okay. You just move along into the next group and you give that a whirl. And then if you start saying, wow, these people are on the same wavelength, this is great, and you continue to grow that. And you're right. Sometimes it's not easy to eliminate, but maybe you don't have to eliminate. Maybe
Exactly.
it's limit, like you said,
Limit.
right?
Exactly.
It's limit. And that
boundaries.
might, correct, boundaries. Yes.
Boundaries in place. Boundaries for yourself, boundaries at work. Love you, Mom. Boundaries with our parents, right? Like boundaries are so important. So important.
Yes. And it's interesting, the postpartum, it's so weird to me that, I'm the chair of a mortgage group, and I just had a conversation with another woman that was telling me what difficulty she had with postpartum. She's an attorney and a partner at a law firm. And she was telling me about how difficult it was, and that she's in a very male dominated industry, and she had no one to speak to, and she struggled and struggled. And one of the things that I'm doing is I'm putting her in charge of a committee within our group to be able to openly speak to other women to help them.
As a platform.
Yes, as a platform. But here it is that I've met two women in a matter of like 3 weeks that experience the same thing, that by you guys openly speaking about it. I'm sure there's many other women that just haven't spoken about it. And so,
even when you go into that follow-up doctor's appointment and they're asking you this series of questions, about postpartum, and you're sitting there and you don't even want to answer them because what will the doctor think, right? So it's that confidence to let people know out there it's okay. It is okay. And that's exactly why I'm doing this with you, Laura, it is okay. It is. It's not like I have a stamp of, rejection on me or anything. Like it's a part of my story. It's a part of my path. And I know I was meant to go on this path for a reason and learn from it, and be in it. And I know that my story is going to make a difference. Even if it's one person.
Well, that's the way you have to look at everything. And I think everyone listening out there, you have to understand that. I've been blessed that, I started these podcasts to hear people's stories. And every time I hear someone's stories, I grow a little, right? I grow and I learn and I expand my tribe, because I've met so many wonderful people. And that's why I was passionate about giving an opportunity for others to be published in a book, to be able to share their stories, because everyone out there, every single person that hears this, you all have a story that you need to share with others. Because just what Carrie just said, even if just one other person in the world says,
yes,
I understand, that person went through the same thing as me. I never met anyone that went through that or felt that way. And this person, I relate, I connect, and I can do this. I can get through this because they did.
Absolutely.
We all have that ability. And Carrie, that actually leads me to the next question. Is that what you're going to be sharing in your chapter? Will this be your story you're going to share? And what do you hope? Is the hope to positively affect and let other women know that it is okay?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely something that's going to be part of the story. And I feel by getting my story out, so many times in my past, when I look at the 18 years of sales, how I didn't speak up because I was afraid, or what would people think? Would I be judged? The lack of confidence, self-worth. And my hope is to let everybody that's going to read this, because everybody will, Laura, right?
Everyone, Carrie.
Everyone's going to buy this. It is okay, because when we speak from the heart, when we speak truth, when we share, I'm telling you right now, it's where the real magic happens, because you start to look at life a little bit differently. Postpartum was a very, very hard place for me. I still deal with it today. I still deal with and have moments. But where I'm at to where I am now, because of the guidance and the help that I've done, the work that I've done on myself, the constant learning, the constant growing. If one person can take away from, the chapter that I share in your book, is that there is hope, and to be the light for someone else. And then my hope is that they share their story.
That's right.
And I'll end on this, because there's times where I've been told I'm too emotional, or, calm it down a little. And you know what? I am an emotional person, and it's okay. And I don't need to calm down. This is who I am.
So for many years in my career, again, 2018 must have been something in the universe happening in 2018, because I realized the same thing in my career of moving up the corporate ladder and all that other kind of stuff. I literally at times were told to tone it down.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found my voice in 2018, I have a running joke that now that I found it, you're never going to quiet me again. Yes. Because I've realized that by me sharing my voice, I have the ability to show other people to share their voice. And I believe that everyone, like you just said, when we are being who we are, whatever that is, if it's emotional, if it's high energy, if it's low energy, if it's whatever it is, just be you.
Be you. Oh, I've been using that hashtag lately.
I saw it. I actually saw it on your LinkedIn. I've been seeing the hashtag be you. And I have to also tell you, love the eagle and the crow.
And I was just telling, I think I posted it in there too.
Yeah.
I actually witnessed this. It wasn't with the eagle, it was with a hawk.
Okay.
And there were, so for those listening that haven't heard,
explain.
It's basically this, you have this eagle and you have the crow on the back that's constantly biting, constantly, chirping away. And as the eagle continues to soar, the crows lose oxygen and they eventually give up and leave it alone, right? And then the eagle's soaring. And for me, what that symbolizes is there's always going to be noise. There's always, it's life. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be problems. There's going to be situations, right? But stay true to you, be you, spread those wings, and keep soaring. And I did witness this. I actually saw it with a hawk, and there was like 6 crows. And I'm watching these crows like battle this hawk. I'm like, what is going to happen out here? Like, what is going on? And the hawk it flew free. And the symbolization, and gosh, I'm so into nature and the beauty of it, but it symbolizes that, we're always going to have something, right? There's always going to be something there, whether it's a bad day, good day, in between day, conflict, project, whatever. It's always going to be there, but it's just stay true to you. Don't change you for someone else, and being in sales. I mean, you have stories. I have stories. I've been in sales for a very long time. And
Carrie, I actually want to ask you that. So you've
sure.
mentioned that you've been in sales for 18 years.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious, how did you get into sales?
So it was, go back to those college years when you're picking a major. I didn't know what I wanted, I knew at that point, this is going to show my age, like in 2003, when I graduated, it was like computers were just becoming a thing. Yeah. So I had majored in information systems, administrative information systems. Didn't do anything with it. I started out in an admin job, and my mentor at the time, my first job, she was a strong, powerful woman in the community, and I learned a lot from her. And she's the one that kind of put me in sales, and it was very uncomfortable. I mean, 18, 19, I've had those jobs, but then like out of college at, in your early 20s, I think we can all think of those stories back in our 20s of that defeating moment of rejection. And sales is not for everyone. And so if we're talking to the audience of those starting out in sales, Laura and I are giving you nuggets right now, like hold on to this advice, because we have gone through those times.
Because when you're first starting out, you're trying to like figure out, okay, wait, all right, that person is the top salesperson. So if I do things like that top salesperson, then maybe I can also be a top salesperson. But Carrie, you just said it, the glory of the whole thing. And yes, you have to take some insights in terms of how they position themselves or how they promote a certain product or service or how they contact people. But at the end of the day, Carrie, I'm sure you would agree with me. Once you actually get comfortable in your own skin and get comfortable in how you deliver the message and how you connect to the clients and really do it from your heart and from your soul, that's when you're an excellent salesperson, because it's no longer sales. At that, the word is taken completely out of it. It's that relationship at that point.
And I think, in hindsight, looking back, remember, it's like, you do the deals and it just doesn't feel like a good fit all around. It's okay to say no.
Yes.
We're not going to relate to everybody. Not everybody's going to feel the way we feel.
Correct.
And that is okay. There is plenty of business out there, and there's plenty of individuals that feel the same way that you do. And that's what I would urge people to do, is find those clients and those individuals that relate. Because if you're trying to sell something to someone that just doesn't have that, it's never going to work.
No.
And it's going to be, on both sides, it's just never going to feel right, and problems. And it's just going to be it's something that, your day is, you're spending so much time on. And I know that's hard when you first start and you're trying to build your book of business, and it's hard to say, no, I've been there. But when you can, when you can go through that journey and be like, this is going to be a good fit, it should be both parties saying yes to each other. Right. And that's when the real magic happens.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I did a show for one of my women's groups a couple months ago, and that was the discussion. Mm-hmm. It was when to say no to a particular client. And I have to tell you, I enjoyed that episode so much because it's something you don't speak a lot about, right? We always speak about how to make the deal work and how to connect and how to make a sale and how to finalize and how to take care of them. But there are times, just like what you just said, it's not the right fit, or someone is a better fit, right? So it's not even so much of, don't look at it as a no. There's someone that is better suited for that relationship where they can have a better experience because of that. That's not a loss. That's actually a win. And you have to get to that level of confidence, and you will. In time, you're right. In the beginning, you're trying to scoop up everything and you're trying to just, throw it against the wall and grab everything you can. But then as you become more mature in your abilities and your confidence level gets there, you absolutely will know when to say no to that
Yes.
at that time. And that's when you really know you've got something at that point. Oh, I love that.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
great. That is good. So so keep going with the story. You get into sales. I want to hear how I'm always curious of when people first start out.
Yeah. So I sold group health insurance.
Oh, wow.
For, gosh, it was, oh boy, I'm thinking here. I think it was 8 years.
Wow.
And then the industry had a shift, and I decided, then I got into like the sports side of things for a couple of years. And then it was that, and my cousin actually introduced me to Proven, where I work now. And I remember, and in Proven, I love you. So listen when I'm saying this, but I remember when I first started, my cousin's like, yeah, come over. Well, we sell copiers. I'm like, what, you want me to sell copiers? How do you sell what? But and that was a point in my career too, of growing up and maturing, right? And I thought it was all about the product,
Right.
and it wasn't. And that's when it really, the light went off, right? When making that shift in the career, because it's so much more than that.
Absolutely.
So that was a shift, definitely, when I started with Proven. They were family owned. I felt like I could relate. I'm a very family oriented person. Again, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. And that's what I did when I started. And that, those are things too, like when you're going through your career, and my advice out there for others is really, as they're interviewing you, interview them,
Yes.
because it does need to be a good fit. It does need to feel right. And that's where your passion comes from, is when it feels good.
Yeah.
And when you can
And
be,
it's a very good point, Carrie, because it's never about the money. It's never about the compensation, because we all know when it feels right, and when you're in that right company, in the right place, and the right headspace, and all of that, that will come. We all know the money will follow when you have done the right connection up front and you are in a good place where you know you can thrive. When you're in that right place, the other will come. If you only focus on that side of things, you're going to wind up bouncing. Then all of a sudden, you're just bouncing from place to place, always chasing that. And we all know that's not fun or healthy for anyone.
And Laura, that's a good point too, because I think it's the administrative team, your support team, your service team internally, never get the credit, right? It's always, oh, Carrie, look what she did this month, and congratulations. The real thank yous, the real work, and the real relationships come in with that team. Can you imagine, like, if you had, problems are going to come up, right? We know billing problems are going to happen. We know we're going to have to put out fires. We know that, service calls are going to happen. But you need to have that internal relationship as well with your employer. If you, I can think of already, the individuals I started with, that we have unique relationships now. And it's just, they're not my colleagues, they're family.
Of course.
They are family. And when you can feel that and have those internal relationships, that also helps on the external relationships. So it really is a full equation when you look from, doing the work on yourself. It starts there. And then you're working on your relationships internally where you're at, because then you're going to thrive for your clients and be in that moment.
That's right. No, very, very important piece, because none of us, I don't care what label title you're wearing. I don't care how many sales top level person ever. No one can do it alone. No one. We all are together, and no one is more important than the other. We are a team. We need to value, we need to appreciate, and we need to recognize at all times. And you're right. A lot of our back end, they don't get that. That credit. And we all need to be aware of that, because without them, we're nothing. That is for sure. Oh,
say so thank very, you. Very. Say thank you often.
Oh, exactly. Yes. Surprise them, put them on a pedestal because, and remember, we all know not only, of course, they're supporting us, but they're dealing with our clients. So the happier they are, the better experience our clients are going to have that comes back around to us. So yes, very, very good point. But you're right again. It does start with us. It does. Because if we are not in the right mindset and we are not in that gratitude mindset and thankful and all of that, you don't see it. Like when you're overwhelmed with stress and you're overwhelmed with this negative voice, you actually can't even see that you need to thank that person. You're kind of clouded. You're walking around like oblivious to all the good that's happening around you. So it does start with you and having that open heart and mind, and then you can see it. And you even mentioned the nature. You know, it's funny. It's another thing I woke up to around 2018 that I never appreciated or saw such beauty in nature until I kind of woke up and said, wow, where has this been? You know, I was so focused on work, goals, and I still am. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I have a different view. My perspective is a little different and I see it differently, even though I still have the same goals.
When you start to heal, when you start healing some of those, you know, think about it as like baggage that's weighing you down, and you start healing those areas in your life, it opens your eyes to so many things that, you know, in a way, it's like, think about the song Amazing Grace. We blind, but now we see. Yep. And in a way, it is that, because it's like, we're so hard on ourselves. And when you start to heal and dive into exactly why and uncover, you know, those areas, you start seeing things a lot differently.
And it's a beautiful world.
It is. It is. And and thank you so much for having this platform, because I think, you know, it was just inauguration day with Amanda Gorman's, so powerful. Oh, so powerful. And that's what we can do, is we can be the light for others. We can be kind.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Carrie, you are amazing. We could go on for days and days and days, but the good news is we get to hear more of your story in the book later this year. So it doesn't end here. We've got more Carrie coming up. So Carrie, how can people connect to you? What's a good way to, because I have to tell you, she has really nice LinkedIn posts. She does a good job of putting out nice content out there. So how can people connect to you, Carrie?
Sure. Obviously, you can always connect on LinkedIn, Carrie McCann, ProvenIT, or cmccann@provenit.com. And I'm even fine giving out the mobile number because it's always there. And even if this story relates and you just need someone to talk to or advice, I am here. I am here for you. So it's 815-383-4567.
Awesome. This has been wonderful. We wish you all the best. Thank you for sharing, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Positively Charged Biz. I'm Laura Brandeo, and we are here to motivate, inspire, and support our listeners as they write their life stories. If you have an inspiring story, please email me at laura@positivelycharged.biz. And remember to subscribe to hear more great guests. And connect to us on Facebook at Positively Charged and Instagram at Positively Charged Podcast. Until next time, we wish you a positive day.